we are taught in our educational system to treat bias like a four-letter word. Bias is bad. Bias is bad. Um, and so it it kind of causes an issue for students when they're told by me and others that guess what? Being biased is a part of the human condition. We're all biased. We all have biases. Bias in its simplest form is just a choice you make. You know, and then the study of what causes you to make that choice. What are your biases? It can be your upbringing. It can be your class. It can be your race, your gender, your economics. It can be your language, your culture, your history. It can be your experiences. It can be religious beliefs. It can be non-religious beliefs. It can be anything. I mean, there's a reason, somebody who's atheist tends to be biased against, people that are religious. People that are politically Democrats are biased against people that are politically Republican. People that are politically progressive are biased against people that are politically conservative. We're all biased. It's the human condition. And from my point of view, to say you have no bias, you're either lying because you know you are, or two, you're not self-aware enough. If you don't think you have any biases, then you are not self-aware enough. You need to learn more about yourself. You are biased. We all are. We're human beings. I am. You are. We all have our biases. It is a choice we make. We make choices. Why do you like historian A over B? Why do you like news channel A over B? Why do you like politician A over B? Why do you give a benefit of a doubt to person A but not B? Okay, I mean, it's what we are. We're biased. We're human beings. We make choices, and then we study what choices those make. When you study primary documents, it's important to ask questions of your sources. What are the sources? How are the sources biased? Where's the source coming from? For example, what do you think might be a little more honest? A former president writing a book that he intends to be published, or a former president's journal that he thinks no one will ever see the light of day. You get it? You have your biases, and you ask your sources questions. Because why? Sources are biased. Because why? Why are sources biased? Because human beings wrote them. And so you have to always, when you study history, you have to always consider the idea of bias. The other point I want to make is bias does not mean false. Being biased or having a bias doesn't mean something is false. So, it just means that is your point of view or that is perspective. And so you don't immediately dismiss something as biased because that doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means the perspective it comes from. Objectivity. When you study objectivity, human beings are biased, and so when human beings create history, the question is, how objective can that human being be? How much can the student of history or the historian overcome their biases? Can someone that is antagonistic towards Group A or Group B, whatever, can they fairly represent, something? A communist, a Marxist historian or a communist historian, they're biased against capitalism. How fair and reasonable can they interpret a study of capitalism? you ask those questions. If you're if you're antagonistic towards a certain religion, how objective can you be in being fair-minded, reasonable, and balanced? The history as an art crowd tends to view objectivity as not necessary or not attainable. Whereas the history of the science crowd views it as you should definitely strive for objectivity. And there are some that say you can be completely objective. And then most others or most argue that, well, objectivity, you should strive for it as best you can while being honest about your biases.